something caused this break, Gil. Something caused this break.
Yes, it did. It was Vanessa caused the break, so they had to be on the out.
By now, many fans know that Kobe Bryant's parents never approved of Vanessa, but only recently have they revealed the real reasons, and they run deeper than most people imagined. According to them, Vanessa was the driving force behind Kobe's decision to distance himself from his own family, giving her full influence over his life. And trust me, the story gets complicated. It all began in the late 1990s when Kobe was quickly rising as one of the NBA's brightest young stars. Growing up in a basketball household with his father, Joe "Jellybean" Bryant, himself a former NBA player, Kobe had always shared a close bond with his parents. They proudly supported his unprecedented leap straight from high school to the NBA, and for a while, the family seemed united in their pursuit of greatness. But everything changed in November 1999, when Kobe met Vanessa Lane on the set of a music video. Vanessa was only 17, a high school student working as a background dancer, while Kobe, at 21, was already a household name. Their instant attraction quickly grew into what many described as an intense and consuming relationship, one that immediately raised red flags for his parents. The controversy wasn't just about the age gap. For Joe and Pamela Bryant, it was about everything Vanessa represented. Coming from Mexican and Irish roots, Vanessa didn't fit the image they had envisioned for their son's future wife. Sources close to the family suggested that Joe and Pam wanted Kobe to marry someone older, more established, and preferably within the African American community. To them, Vanessa was too young, too inexperienced, and, most painfully, she was not African American. Within 6 months of meeting, Kobe proposed to Vanessa on her 18th birthday. For his parents, this was their worst fear realized, their 21-year-old son rushing headfirst into a marriage they believed could jeopardize both his career and family legacy. Reports later revealed that their disapproval wasn't just cultural, it was rooted in racial prejudice. Joe, in particular, struggled to accept Vanessa's Mexican heritage, a fact that cast a long and painful shadow over the family dynamic. As tensions grew, Joe and Pamela became more vocal in their objections, believing Kobe's relationship was obsessive and harmful to his future. But for Kobe, the bond was unshakable. What began as a love story would soon spark decades of division, where family loyalty, cultural identity, and true love collided in ways that still fascinate fans to this day.
That point in time, he gonna be grown. You can say, son, I don't think she... Bro, half the team done been with her. But if he love her, ain't ish you can...
The situation reached its breaking point when Kobe and Vanessa revealed their wedding plans. On April 18, 2001, the couple exchanged vows at St. Edward the Confessor Catholic Church in Dana Point, California, in a ceremony attended by only about a dozen people. Most striking, however, was the absence of Kobe's parents, Joe and Pam Bryant, along with his sisters, Sharia and Shea. This was not a scheduling conflict or a minor family dispute, it was a deliberate, calculated snub. The Bryant family made their disapproval of the marriage unmistakably clear, even at the cost of publicly humiliating their own son. Their absence marked the beginning of a painful 2-year estrangement that cut deeply into Kobe's heart, with reconciliation coming only briefly in 2003 after the birth of his daughter Natalia. One of the most heartbreaking examples of this divide unfolded during what should have been a pinnacle moment in Kobe's young career. After the Lakers defeated the Philadelphia 76ers in the 2001 NBA Finals, ironically, in Kobe's hometown, his parents still chose not to attend the celebrations, reportedly because of their disapproval of Vanessa. An iconic photo from that night shows Kobe, despite being crowned an NBA champion, wearing an expression of quiet sadness. It symbolized the emotional isolation he felt from his family. Imagine that for a moment, a young man reaching the highest honor in professional basketball, winning a championship in his own city, yet his parents refused to stand by his side, all because they disapproved of his wife. The message was undeniable. Their disdain for Vanessa outweighed their pride in Kobe's achievements. Financial tensions only deepened the rift. From the beginning, Kobe provided financial support to Vanessa's family, a decision that reportedly strained his relationship with his parents. Joe and Pam Bryant grew increasingly resentful as they watched their son purchase homes and extend financial help to his in-laws, while they themselves felt marginalized and dependent. This dynamic created a sense of competition between the families, where every financial decision was seen as a test of loyalty. The perception, fair or not, was that Vanessa's family enjoyed preferential treatment while Kobe's own parents were held to different standards.
Like, I don't think you should marry her. Like, if you're young, you need a prenup. And the father who's been an NBA player before is giving his knowledge to his son, right?
Yeah.
Well, if If his girlfriend knows the parents don't like him, what happens when they get married? What is the girlfriend stand, or the wife now stands? The wife's stand is, I don't mess with them.
As the years went by, the rift between Kobe and his parents only grew deeper. The brief reconciliation that followed Natalia's birth proved to be nothing more than temporary. But that was just the beginning. The real explosion had yet to come, a betrayal so profound and so public that it permanently shattered what little remained of the Bryant family bond. It was the ultimate betrayal, a moment when parents became adversaries. By 2013, Kobe and Vanessa had already weathered countless storms together, challenges that would have destroyed most marriages. They had survived the 2003 sexual assault allegation in Colorado, during which Kobe admitted to adultery but firmly denied assault.
Sit here in front of you guys, furious at myself, disgusted at myself for making a mistake of adultery. You know, I love my wife with all my heart. She's backbone.
The scandal revealed Kobe's adultery, straining his marriage, though Vanessa stood by him publicly. This crisis tested not only their relationship but also the fragile peace with his parents. Kobe later linked a 2005 miscarriage to the stress of the assault case, underscoring the devastating personal toll that public scrutiny and legal battles took on the young family. During this period, Vanessa remained steadfast, appearing alongside Kobe at press conferences and court hearings, while the support from his parents was far less visible and inconsistent. It became clear that while Natalia's birth had temporarily healed wounds, the foundation of Kobe's family relationships was still unstable. Years later, after Vanessa filed for divorce in 2011, citing irreconcilable differences amid reports of Kobe's alleged extramarital affairs, the couple reconciled in 2013, choosing to rebuild their marriage and family. Yet while Kobe and Vanessa renewed their bond, his relationship with his parents faced a blow from which it would never recover. That year, Joe and Pam Bryant attempted to auction Kobe's high school memorabilia and even his championship rings without his permission, reportedly to fund their lifestyle and purchase a new home. This was not a case of a few forgotten trophies collecting dust in an attic. The collection was valued at more than $450,000 and included priceless items that marked Kobe's journey from high school prodigy to NBA superstar. The audacity of this act was staggering. Imagine discovering that your own parents had taken your most cherished possessions, symbols of your life's work, and attempted to sell them without even asking. For Kobe, this wasn't just theft, it was the ultimate betrayal of trust. The legal battle that followed was swift. Kobe sued both his parents and the auction house, ultimately reaching a settlement, but the damage to their relationship was irreparable. What made the situation even more painful was the context. This wasn't about desperate parents struggling financially. Kobe had been supporting them for years. Now, with the legal proceedings thrust into the public eye, the private financial dynamics of the Bryant family became tabloid headlines. Joe and Pam issued a public apology, saying, "We regret our actions and statements related to the Kobe Bryant auction memorabilia. We apologize for any misunderstanding and unintended pain we have caused our son and appreciate the financial support he has provided over the years." But for Kobe, the apology was too little, too late. The betrayal had cut too deep. In a brutally honest 2016 ESPN interview, Kobe made his feelings clear, opening up about the actions of his parents and the broken state of their relationship.
This is what Kobe told ESPN. Our relationship isn't ish. I say, I'm going to buy you a very nice home, and the response is, that's not good enough? Then you're selling my ish.
This was not just anger speaking, it was the release of years of accumulated frustration and disappointment finally boiling over. Kobe's words revealed a troubling pattern of behavior that extended far beyond the auction incident. The sale of his memorabilia was only the latest example of situations where Kobe felt his parents treated him more like an ATM than their son. The financial dynamics within the Bryant family had always been complicated, but the 2013 scandal laid bare the harsh reality of how Joe and Pamela truly viewed their son's success. Kobe, who had signed his first NBA contract at just 17 and became a millionaire before he was even old enough to legally drink, had been financially supporting his family for years. Yet there grew a perception that his parents felt entitled to even more, that they saw his accomplishments as theirs to share, and that they had a right to benefit from his career regardless of the state of their relationship. As Kobe himself once said, "The one thing I hate more than anything from a person is ungratefulness."
One thing I hate more than anything from a person is ungratefulness. Now, a guy, Steph Curry, I went to the game, son.
A memorabilia auction became the ultimate symbol of everything broken within the Bryant family dynamic. It was never just about money, it was about respect, boundaries, and the painful question of whether Joe and Pam truly saw Kobe as their son or merely as their meal ticket. Their attempt to sell his prized possessions without his permission strongly suggested the latter, and that realization was devastating for Kobe. In the midst of these conflicts, Vanessa Bryant found herself in an increasingly difficult position. Not only did she face the constant disapproval of Kobe's parents, but she was also forced to navigate the complex dynamics of a family where she was often blamed for influencing Kobe's decisions regarding financial support and his strained relationship with them.
Something caused this break, Gil. Something caused this break.
Yes, it did. It was Vanessa caused the.
Many of Kobe's former teammates and friends pointed to Vanessa as the driving force behind the family estrangement. Their argument was simple: when parents disapprove of their child's spouse and the spouse becomes aware of that disapproval, it inevitably creates a dynamic where the spouse begins to view the parents as threats to the marriage.
So the wife cuts off the parents no matter what. So now Kobe is trying to feed them in the back end.
This perspective suggests that Vanessa, feeling both the hostility and racial prejudice from Kobe's parents, essentially forced him into a choice between his family and his wife. When faced with that decision, Kobe chose Vanessa, a choice his parents never forgave and one that ultimately cemented their estrangement. The aftermath of the memorabilia scandal was swift and unforgiving. Though a legal settlement was reached, it triggered a 3-year stretch of complete silence between Kobe and his parents. This was not a cooling-off period or a temporary rift, it was a full severing of ties that lasted until Kobe's retirement. The feud's public nature also carried professional consequences. Most notably, his parents were absent from his final NBA game in 2016, a historic milestone that should have been a joyous family celebration but instead underscored the depth of their ongoing divide. The symbolism was impossible to miss. One of the greatest players in basketball history was saying goodbye to the sport he had dedicated his life to, and yet his own parents chose not to be there.
How much he's talked to you about this stage of the career and how the body has to react in different ways?
Unfortunately, we don't talk much, you know. Maybe down the road that relationship would be better, but right now it's not much.
The financial side of the dispute also exposed uncomfortable truths about the dynamics of celebrity families. Years earlier, Kobe had cut off financial support to his sisters in an effort to encourage self-sufficiency, and he felt his parents were demanding more than they deserved. This was never about stinginess, it was about setting boundaries and making sure family relationships weren't reduced to mere transactions. The emotional toll of the estrangement was clear in Kobe's public statements and behavior during this time. Here was a man who had achieved everything possible in his professional career, yet he carried the deep pain of being estranged from his own parents. The fact that they had chosen money over their relationship with him was a wound that never fully healed. But there is another perspective to consider in this family tragedy, that of Joe and Pamela Bryant themselves. Were they truly just greedy parents trying to cash in on their son's success, or were they, in their own way, victims of a situation that had spiraled beyond anyone's control?
60s and 70s, so Kobe was taking care of them, now they're cut off.
Some observers have argued that Joe and Pamela were placed in an impossible situation. They had raised a son who became one of the most successful athletes in history, yet their disapproval of his wife left them increasingly marginalized and shut out of his life. Then came death, dollars, and the final reckoning. The helicopter crash on January 26, 2020, that claimed the lives of Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and 7 others should have been a moment to reunite the fractured Bryant family in grief. Death, after all, has a way of putting conflicts into perspective and reminding us of what truly matters. But even tragedy of this magnitude could not mend the canyon of resentment carved by years of financial disputes, racial tension, and wounded pride. Before his death, Kobe was reportedly making efforts to reconcile with his parents, influenced by his faith and family values, but the crash ended any chance of full resolution. This makes the story even more heartbreaking, suggesting that healing might have been possible had time allowed it. In the immediate aftermath, Joe and Pam Bryant attended the memorial service, though they remained silent and did not speak. Their presence, however, was significant. It was proof that, despite years of estrangement, the bond of family still existed, however strained. During that memorial, Vanessa delivered one of the most emotionally powerful speeches ever given at a public farewell.
Kobe was known as a fierce competitor on the basketball court. The greatest of all time, a writer, an Oscar winner, and the Black Mamba. But to me, he was Kobe, my boo-boo, my baby-boo, my papi chula.
Her speech was remarkable not only for its raw emotional honesty but also for what it revealed about the strength of her bond with Kobe. She spoke of the dreams they had shared and the plans for the future that would now never come to pass.
He wanted us to renew our vows. He wanted Natalia to take over his company, and he wanted to travel the world together. We had always talked about how we'd be the fun grandparents to our daughter's children.
The fact that Kobe's parents witnessed Vanessa's speech, hearing about the life their son had built and the dreams they had shared, must have been both comforting and heartbreaking. It was a painful reminder of all the moments they had missed and the grandchildren they barely knew because of years of estrangement. After Kobe's passing, speculation quickly arose that his parents had received no inheritance, as his estate went almost entirely to Vanessa and their daughters. This became a source of ongoing controversy and public criticism directed at Vanessa, with some questioning whether she had a moral obligation to support Kobe's parents despite their fractured history. Kobe's will, structured as a family trust, left everything to Vanessa and their daughters, Natalia, Bianca, and Capri, with no provisions for his parents or sisters. This was not an oversight or a legal technicality, it was a deliberate choice that reflected the state of his relationship with his family at the time of his death. The exclusion of Joe and Pam from his will sent shockwaves through the basketball community and reignited debates about family obligations, cultural loyalty, and the complex realities of celebrity wealth. Kobe's estate, estimated at around $600 million, only grew larger after his death through investments and branding deals, yet none of it was allocated to his parents. The financial strain on Joe and Pam became evident in the years that followed. In March 2024, they auctioned off Kobe's 2000 NBA championship ring, a gift Joe had once received from his son, for $927,000. The sale drew widespread criticism from fans and the media. The symbolism was devastating, Kobe's own parents selling off his championship memorabilia while his widow and daughters remained secure with a fortune large enough to have prevented such desperation.
They got no money. You can't be mad because they're selling the rings. The money wasn't left to them. They trying to eat.
The auction ignited a firestorm of debate, with opinions sharply divided along racial and cultural lines. Some critics, particularly within the African American community, began questioning whether Vanessa had a moral obligation to provide for Kobe's parents. Former NBA player Gilbert Arenas publicly defended Joe Bryant, pointing to financial necessity and even blaming Vanessa for not stepping in to buy the ring back, implying that she controlled the family's wealth. But perhaps the most vocal and controversial criticism came from Dr. Umar Johnson, a prominent black activist and psychologist, who made headlines with his harsh assessment of Vanessa's actions. In a June 2024 interview, Johnson openly criticized her for allegedly failing to provide any financial support to Kobe's parents despite inheriting the bulk of his estimated $600 million estate.
Here's my question for Vanessa. Are you going to pay for that man's homegoing ceremony? And don't get me wrong, I believe Shaquille O'Neal and a lot of Kobe's friends and other stars, they're going to make sure his father get put away right. I absolutely believe that. But Vanessa, I believe you have an obligation to see to it that Kobe's father gets put away right. Are you going to do that? But let's take it a step further, Art. Kobe's mother. Kobe's mother is still walking. She's still with us. Vanessa Bryant, are you going to take care of Kobe?
Johnson's criticism was especially sharp and racially charged. You mean to tell me you don't have enough decency to give his parents $1 million apiece? They're elders. They need some money. From what I've heard, Vanessa Bryant ain't giving them a dime, he declared. He tied his remarks to the broader theme of black wealth retention, accusing Vanessa, who is Mexican-American, of failing to use Kobe's fortune to uplift the black community. The racial undertones of Johnson's argument were impossible to ignore. His comments echoed the long-standing claims that Joe and Pam's disapproval of Vanessa stemmed partly from her Mexican heritage and their preference for Kobe to marry within the African-American community. In many ways, this brought the narrative full circle, back to the very tensions that had divided the Bryant family more than 2 decades earlier. The story took an even more tragic turn on July 16, 2024, when Joe Bryant died at the age of 69 from a stroke. Vanessa's response to his passing was measured, yet telling. "We were sad to hear of Joe's passing. We hoped things would have been different. Although the times we spent together were few, he was always sweet and nice to be around. Kobe loved him very much." Some observers interpreted her words as thinly veiled shade, noting that the phrase, "we hoped things would have been different," hinted at unresolved issues beneath a respectful surface. Even in death, there was no true reconciliation, only the lingering shadow of what might have been. Following Joe's death, Dr. Umar Johnson doubled down on his attacks. This time, he demanded that Vanessa support Kobe's mother and pay for Joe's funeral, arguing that she carried a moral obligation to honor the family who had raised the man that made her wealthy. His criticism joined a chorus of voices across social media, where fans fiercely debated Vanessa's moral obligations versus her legal rights. Many framed their arguments around cultural expectations of filial piety, with posts declaring, "Without Kobe Bryant's parents, there would be no Kobe Bryant." These became rallying cries for those who believed Vanessa should share her inheritance, yet Vanessa was not without defenders. Others argued that Kobe's deliberate choice to exclude his parents from his will, because of their past behavior, should be respected. Comments like, "Vanessa Bryant is not to blame for Kobe Bryant not making provisions for his own parents," highlighted the tension between cultural expectations and personal autonomy. The complexity deepened further when Vanessa's own family struggles resurfaced. In December 2020, her mother, Sophia Lane, filed a $5 million lawsuit, claiming Kobe had promised lifelong financial support and alleging Vanessa evicted her after his death. Vanessa called the lawsuit frivolous extortion, insisting her mother had only babysat occasionally and that no such promises were ever made. The parallel was striking. In both the Bryant and Lane families, parents or parental figures felt entitled to Kobe's wealth, while Vanessa stood firm in resisting those demands. Ultimately, the conflict suggested that these battles were not just about race or culture, but about the broader, uncomfortable questions of family obligation, entitlement, and the price of celebrity wealth.
Kept it moving.
Right.
You had to have done something really poorly, really bad choices, poor choices for your daughter to put you out of the house and take away your vehicle.
Dysfunction within the Bryant family wasn't created by Kobe's death, it was merely exposed by it. The financial disputes, racial tensions, and control struggles that had lingered for decades simply took on a new shape after his passing. Second, the saga reveals the deeply complex intersection of race, wealth, and family obligation in American society. The criticism of Vanessa was never only about her personal choices. It reflected broader debates about racial loyalty and community responsibility. The fact that she was Latina rather than African American added yet another layer of tension to these conversations, sharpening the divide. Third, the story highlights the impossible position that celebrity widows often face. Vanessa was placed under a microscope, condemned by some for not giving enough of Kobe's wealth to his parents, while praised by others for protecting her daughter's inheritance. Every decision she made was dissected through the harsh lens of public opinion and cultural expectation, leaving her with no path that could satisfy everyone. Perhaps most tragically, this saga demonstrates how pride and prejudice can destroy even the strongest family bonds. What began as disapproval of an interracial marriage eventually spiraled into decades of bitter financial disputes and personal betrayals. By the time death entered the picture, the wounds were already too deep to heal, the patterns too entrenched to break. Former NBA player Sebastian Telfair, who endured painful family conflicts of his own, summed up the frustration that many felt when watching the Bryants unravel. His raw emotion mirrored the bewilderment of countless onlookers who struggled to comprehend how a family that shared so much love for Kobe could end up so divided in the end.
Bro, life is more realer than any of these situations. A basketball. There's nothing about, him going to I want him to make a good decision about a basketball, and if he don't make this decision how I want him to, I'ma turn against.
The final chapters of this story are still being written even today, as of 2025, with Joe Bryant gone and no reconciliation reported between Vanessa and Pam. The public spotlight on the family's conflicts has dimmed. Vanessa has shifted her energy toward raising her daughters and safeguarding Kobe's legacy through the Mamba and Mamba Sports Foundation. Liked what you saw? Tap one of the cards on screen to keep watching.